I'm not going to tell y'all how many times it took me to get that right, but action.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome back to the No Name Show. I'm Michelle.
I'm Miracle.
And it's been a while since we've seen you. So much has happened since then.
Yeah.
The last show we did was for her birthday. And we've had our favorite holiday, Thanksgiving. And Christmas. And my birthday, which we didn't do a show for because my birthday is 3 days after Christmas.
Yeah. But it was awesome. It was a good birthday.
I've long since learned you can't compete with Jesus, so just whatever. Just get over it. We've celebrated the new year. It's now 2019. So although it's February, I can say Happy Black History Month, but I can also say Happy New Year. So here we are. It's Super Bowl weekend, and my sister and I were talking, like, what are we going to talk about this time? And it's Super Bowl weekend. So football is definitely my favorite sport. Thought about going to the Atlanta government shutdown, kind of freaked me out. I was like, TSA. Oh, really?
Yeah, they're having a good time.
I was like, TSA, they gonna all call in sick and shut down the Super Bowl. I feel like the president knew that. He was like, let's have a 3-week break.
Yeah.
Go back to work. So I'm sure it would have been a great time. But anyway, we decided to talk about what we were doing this time last year. Because last year, the day of the Super Bowl, I got a phone call. I was at a Super Bowl party, and it was like, we just had to call 911 for your dad. You should probably come over here. I took an Uber to the party, so now somebody got to take me back to get my car, and then I have to get like 20 miles away, and then the whole world changed. So you can start from your side of the story.
Well, for Super Bowl, I went to church. Chris works on Sunday, and for some reason we decided to stay home that Super Bowl. So we were watching the game, watching TV here in the living room, and that's when we got the phone call. Dad's just been rushed to the hospital. Come now.
So I was the first person to get there, right? I beat you. And let's see, this is February. So the year before, like in October, so just a few months back, I had gotten a phone call like that. My dad had to go to the hospital. He was in a car accident, and he was hit by a drunk driver, and he had like some back pain, some knee pain, some lingering stuff from that. And then he had been going through like some rehab and all, and he had went and gotten a pain injection in his back because he was supposed to have a knee surgery scheduled. And something went wrong with that pain injection, and he had a horrible reaction. And so he had that injection like on Monday. And then on Thursday, my mom had to pick him up from work, and he like could barely get in the car and super duper, like just barely walk. He stayed pretty much in the house all weekend. And by Sunday, I mean, he had the shakes. It was nuts. And one of my aunts was like, something is not right. My dad, I'm fine. She's like, you're not, and we're calling 911. We're getting you some help. And he was like, okay.
No, but he still said no. He was still trying to prolong it.
Because
she said it, and Nevis said she went to church, and she said something, and he was like, no.
Oh, after the game. And he said after the game.
Said, okay, I'll go after the game. And then it was after the game. He was like, I can go tomorrow.
I'll go tomorrow.
And then my Nevis finally got him. She was like, no, I'm going right now.
And so they called 911, and the paramedics basically said, if y'all hadn't called this hour, if he would have went to sleep, he would not have woke up. And so we go to the ER that was like about 2 miles away from where he was. I think I met them at the hospital, and we had a doctor to come in to say, I'm going to call a friend I have in the medical center to take a look at this. And then he comes back and says, we're life flighting him to the medical center. Something about the word life flight don't make you feel real comforted. And so it turns out that there was too much fog, so they couldn't fly the helicopter, so I ended up sending an ambulance, and we went to the med center. We're here in Houston, and that was the first day of a totally different life. So I'm going to pick up, because I think you ended up meeting us at the med center. I think I slept in the floor. I slept on the floor in the hospital because we were waiting. They're running all this tests. Then they find something. There's like a growth infection on his spine.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up having sepsis. They also said he had diabetes, which we later learned I don't think that's true, because every time they gave him insulin, his his blood sugar was so low, it was like we had to figure out how to raise it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was wiped out. But he got some sort of infection that was absolutely horrible, and he has been on a long road to recovery. We were in the ICU for about 45 days, and then we left ICU and went to a rehab facility.
Mm-hmm.
My mom had her 60th birthday, like, in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And it was rough. It was days where we would go and look at my dad, and he couldn't name all of his children. He knew he had 4 children, but he couldn't name them.
Mm-hmm.
It was days when I went and he looked at me, and I felt like he looked through me, and he kind of figured out how to fake it. Like, he knew what was going on, but he didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And when he didn't talk, it was because I knew, like, something about him is really prideful, where he knew something was wrong, but he wasn't going to let you know what it was. And so I remember the first time I walked in the hospital and he was like, "Hey, daughter." And I knew, I was like, oh, he knows who I am today. Because that's what he would call me, like, not by my name, but just daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And Miracle did a good job just being there. And so he ended up being in a wheelchair and going through rehab that they almost jacked him up again and set him back. My parents ended up coming and living with my sister. She had 1 level. And what was it? Home health. We had a hard time getting home health to get here. We didn't have a hospital bed. And I remember getting on the phone with somebody because my mom had been trying. And so I called for her. And I'm talking to this lady, and I'm like, I don't think y'all understand. And you don't know until you're going through this how the healthcare system really is flawed. You have a lot of people with good hearts. However, they all work in silos, and they don't talk to each other. Their systems don't talk to each other. So you have one doctor who thinks my dad is still in the hospital because after he left the rehab facility, that's where he should have been, was back to the hospital, or the hospital thought he was at the rehab facility. The home health people didn't come because they thought this, and it was just like a mess. And so when we finally got that squared away, it was a good 3 to 4 weeks later where he had just been here with nothing. And then fast forward a lot of months, he was able to go to a really good quality rehab facility. But then after 2 weeks, he got kicked out because they said he was too advanced. And I'm like, dude, he's in a wheelchair. What do you mean he's too advanced? But he's in a walker now. And then just this week, he's in an outpatient, and he uses a walking stick. So, yeah, it's been a journey.
I don't even know where to begin. I guess I'll start from, like, we first get the call and go to the hospital. And then seeing him for the first time was, like, shocking. And then, I think it was probably, we were getting consistently bad news. Like, he's not going to make it, all of this stuff. So for me, I guess my testimony is, I'm not going to cry. Well, I probably will.
You probably will.
Cry.
Which then if you cry, you're going to make me cry. But
so I seriously was thinking, okay, my dad is about to die. So how do I prepare myself to think about the funeral, thinking about the arrangements? Like, I literally went into, okay, we've identified the issue, now let's solve the problem. That's kind of how I'm wired. I don't harp on the problem. So the doctors are telling me he's not going to make it, so now I need to prepare myself to lose my dad. And so it was probably like the 3rd day, and in my mind I'm like running through numbers and all of this that's going on, and the Holy Spirit was like, you counted me out. You never once, like, I was never aware to pray for his healing. I just automatically went to, my dad's gonna die, and let's prepare for him to die. So after that, I never once thought about death when it came to my dad. And I think that was the only reason why I was able to get through this whole experience, because sorry, I laughed. Sorry, I have to laugh.
We have inappropriate reactions to stuff.
I have to laugh. Okay, keep it down. So I'm the youngest. So for me, I feel like my mom was not all the way there. I mean, she's going through this with her husband. Mitchell's reaction was,
that's our younger brother. Well, my younger brother. He's the middle child.
The middle child. Mitchell's reaction was more of a, I don't want to see my dad like that, kind of.
So he checked out.
He kind of checked out. And then Kendrick, of course, is in Dallas.
It's our older brother.
Our older brother, but I need to know information to feed to him because he like wants to know what's going on at every like possible minute. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but he's like, keep me informed, and I'm on the road like as soon as I need to be on the road. And Michelle, how was your reaction?
I was in a daze. I was there all the time, but I felt like I was on like a robot autopilot. So I would get up in the morning super early and go to work. I'm not a morning person, but I wake up early. So I'd be up, like 5:30, 6, and I'd go to work, and then I'd leave as soon as I could, and I'd go straight to the hospital, and I would stay at the hospital until after 9. Well, 9 o'clock was the cutoff time, so we had to leave at 9, and then we'd be in the lobby talking for like at the elevator forever. I'd get home like 10, go to sleep, wake up, do it again, like for 3 months, 4 months, because then he left the hospital, went to the rehab facility, and it was just like I was just in a daze because so for me, like, I'm the oldest girl, I'm daddy's girl, like that's my dude. When we talk about sports, we talk about just whatever, that's my dude. And so for me, it was just like, this is a strong man. This is a man who, helped me move furniture the week prior, or 2 weeks, or like, there's nothing wrong with my dad. And then there was something wrong with my dad. Yeah, it was rough. And then my mom, oh my gosh, I don't want to call her a basket case, but she's kind of a basket case. I've been with this man since I was 16 years old. And I'm like, it's a long time to be with somebody for the possibility of them to not, be right. But like watching her go through this, when you think about the vows through sickness and health, this is definitely like, she got that part down. And it was even crazier because the day before my dad went into the hospital, my dad is one of 9 children. And so my grandmother was no longer able to live on her own. And they had a family meeting, and my parents had decided to take my grandma, and my grandmother was going to live with them, and my mom was going to be her primary caregiver. And then the next day, my dad went to the hospital, and then everything changed. And so it's just like the ripple effect that all of that had. My grandmother has since passed away, but it was like all of this trauma went on at the same time because our brother in Dallas, Wednesday night probably, their son was 4. He was 5 at the time. Yeah. He was 5, but he's had a birthday. So he got pneumonia and the flu, influenza like type A or something crazy. So he was in the ICU, the trauma ICU, like Thursday, like when we woke up Thursday, we got a message that Kingston is in, the ICU. Then they wake up Monday morning to find out the dad is in ICU. So my brother in Dallas, super strong, because his dad and his son are in the hospital. He couldn't go to see Kingston because they had 3 other kids at home and couldn't take that disease. I mean, it was just like one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. And so like Miracle talked about like our faith, we're Christians, and we've learned to pray, we've learned to confess the word, we've learned to be in faith. When your faith is tested, do you really, like, it's easy to be happy when everything is good, but then when everything hits the fan and everything is like just bad news after bad news after bad news, can you still be positive? Can you still say, I trust that God has the best for me? And you go through trials and tribulations, count it all joy. How do you count this joy when you think that this shouldn't be happening? And I definitely know one thing I learned about me and our family is that, well, thank God we are people of faith because we could take it. We still had hope. We still knew how to function. We met absolutely wonderful people in the hospital, in the
Mm-hmm.
ICU. There was another family that came a few days after us, and it was a young girl, Shelby. She was only 22, and she had like she had a headache for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
went to the hospital, went to the doctor, had passed out, never woke up, and then she eventually did pass away. But it was like they were Christian people, and because she was so young, I mean, her parents are there, her grandparents are there, aunts and uncles, cousins, friends from college, like her sorority, like everybody was there. And I mean, we had church, we had a party, it was food, like always. I remember the first day they brought like tortillas, and we in Texas, I don't know where y'all are, but it was like super hilarious because they had fajitas. I was like, the white family brought fajitas, the black family brought something else Mexican, and then like the Mexican family had barbecue. Like it was hilarious. So we're in the hospital with like all this food and all these people, and we ended up kind of just pulling together because we're all there every day. And I remember they prayed one day, and it was like the power of God. This moment I'll never forget. So they had just got really bad news about her, and all of them got together to pray. And we have people in the waiting room who don't even speak English, and they knew that was like that was a moment to respect. And I heard whatever their language was, turn off the TV is basically what it was, and they turned off the TV, and then everybody across the whole waiting room just bowed their head, and some people from our group went and got their circle and prayed, and it was just like And then Maverick, that's my sister's son, he was probably about 7 months then. And it was another time when Stacy, that's Shelby's mom's name, had gotten not so good news. Maverick can't even walk. He like crawls right up to her, like leaps and jumps on her. And I remember he put his arms around her like this, and was like, what 7-month-old knows to hug somebody and pat? And it was like God was speaking through Maverick, all the people in the waiting room. He was like a joy, a ray of sunshine. It was good. So now
we do want to give a special shout out to everybody who came to the hospital, family, friends. People sent food. I mean, people came out the woodwork to like help us. And like we said, we were going to work from the big half of the day, going to the hospital. We would alternate and sleep at night. Charlotte would never leave the hospital, so we had to force her to like go take a shower.
Who barely spoke English. Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah, he had to tell my mom to go home and go to sleep in Spanish. He's like, it's no good for you. Go home. And she wouldn't listen to us. It was probably day 20 or something. Yep. And she hadn't went home and to sleep in her bed. She was sleeping at the hospital. And something about him, he was like, no. Did he like say
it was
God
like we
wants you to go home or something? He told
her that she was no good to him.
Yeah.
In her current state, because I think you had went to the restroom before you left. You had offered to stay. She told Miracle no. And then the time that it took Miracle to go to the restroom, and she came out and she says, okay, I'm gonna leave. And Miracle stayed that night. And it was just like, what happened? I was like, him.
We had been begging her to go home, and that mean it was the right time, and that was God telling her to go home and like take a shower.
Because there was a place in the hospital that she could go,
but she was sleeping in a chair though.
Yeah, she was sleeping in a chair. She would not leave her husband.
She would not leave.
But yeah, when you go through those moments, like the people that come through, and Loretta was there all the time, and Abbas was there all the time. We had, my dad's side of the family, his siblings would come and go, and oh my gosh, parking. That's the biggest racket.
So much money.
If I have a common card, parking, $12 a day, and it took us a long time to figure out that if we bought the smart chip, we could at least get in and out privileges. It was still $12 a day, but we could at least run and get some food and come back. So we were spending $72 a week for
we were in that hospital for 42 days. Yeah.
$12 times 42. It was a lot. But, and then it was worse because it was like my car, your car, mom's. We're coming from work. Because we're coming from work, so we need our cars. And then we finally did figure out a life hack. We kind of got it together. You could park super duper far. It take you 30 minutes, and it was $6. almost wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
That was pricey. The people from NSN gave me money for one of the smart chips that worked for a good week, like almost 2 weeks. And then I think the first week my boss came and brought food for us. Melanie from my job came and brought food. Tressie brought food. One of my friends from high school. Ty, one of my friends lived 3 hours away. She came and brought food. Who else? It was so many people that reached out for us. Red brought food one day. I wasn't there that day, but I remember. And it was so funny because Mom was talking about wanting some red beans, and then that same day, Red might have, I'm making red beans tomorrow. You think I can bring that to the hospital? I was like, girl, the Lord told you
and
that.
I think she fed like the nurses too.
She did. She brought a lot.
They ate those red beans, right?
So many people just poured out the love for my dad. And then I remember the first time when he finally was released, and then when he finally went to church, it was like so many people were happy. Like, we've been praying for your dad, you know, that he was here. And he was in a wheelchair at first. And then the Sunday that he came in a walker, our pastor, we have 2 locations for our church. So in service, she made like just a small comment about, you know, my faith is just going to a whole new level. You know, you were first coming here in a wheelchair, and now you in a walker. And I'm just like praising God for that. That was all she said. When she got to the next service, she must have went all out, because all kind of people were calling my mom was, well, she's talking about your husband, you know, and you know, everybody's praising. And so just this past Thursday, in his last rehab session, they graduated him to a walking stick, so he's gonna be practicing walking straight up, and he's a little bit uneasy, but he'll, you know, try it in the house first before he goes out in public with it. The last Texans playoff game, I was able to take him to a game, and we was rolling slow. You know, he had his walker, we was moving slow, but he was able to go and be out and kind of start to do some of the things that he was used to. I mean, because again, you know, my dad had a very high quality of life. He still worked a physical job, manual, you know, labor, where you climbing at the top of, you know, towers and all that. And so to go from that to being grounded was hard. But he's come out of it, and it's really good. I'm just happy.
So what have we learned through this whole experience?
Faith. Absolutely.
And family.
Faith and family, but then more about your power to choose. Because the same energy that it takes for you them 3 days to be all nervous and in fear and preparing for death is the same energy that you could spend being positive and believing for something good, always expecting great things. Are you expecting great things because things are great, or are you really expecting great things? And so that's definitely what I learned out of it. You still have to live, you still have to function, you still have to go on. And so you could go on with a smile on your face. You don't have to look like what you're going through, even though I definitely look bad because I look tired. Like, oh my gosh, I was so tired. But and I mean, my work suffered and all that, but that's my dad. So
the only reason why my work didn't suffer is because at the time my boss just had a baby. So my ex-coworker Jessie, she definitely like had my back. She's like, go ahead.
She took up for you.
Yeah, she was like, go ahead, I got it. So, yep, I definitely learned that I'm still weary when it comes to going to hospital still, from being in there so long. So that's something I definitely need to work on, because we had to go back again just for his outpatient, and I was like, whew, okay, we're gonna do this again. It was kind of hard.
Not trying to be these people friends, because I ain't gonna be here for long.
I did not want to go into another hospital.
And when our grandma was in the hospital, that was
hard too.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, okay.
You going? No, I'm good. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I'll just go for an hour or two. Like, it's been a lot. But basically, you live, you survive. No matter what happens, our story is not done, because until he's walking, moving, driving, doing everything that he could do before, our story, our testimony is still going. But when it's all said and done, I think it'll be a great one.
And tomorrow will be a year anniversary.
Yep, tomorrow is the Super Bowl.
We are thankful
Celebrating
that we're
life.
here. Yep.
We're celebrating life and not the anniversary of his death.
Yes. Shout out to Charlotte. She's a strong woman.
Absolutely.
So.
She love her husband. For real. So, all right.
All right.
That's it.
That's it, right.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.